Warm welcome to all of you from Blessed Channel. A warm welcome to Kashi G, Dinesh Kashikar. So my name is Prajna Kisti. I'm from Princeton, New Jersey, and I'm professionally an engineer, MBA, and a Wharton certified retirement planning specialist. Now I'm representing Art of Living Foundation and the Blessed Channel team. And today we have a privilege to meet one of the most favorite, a very senior Art of Living faculty, Dinesh Kashikar. So I'm going to warm welcome Kashi Ji. So he's
Yes.
fondly, affectionately known as Kashi Ji or Kashi. So Kashi Ji is Director of Teachers Training for the Global Shishi School of Yoga in India and part of curriculum design team. He has been, instrumental in bringing for last 15 years training so many yoga teachers worldwide. He began studying yoga at the age of 7 when he completed Upanyanam, the ancient thread ceremony, thereby beginning his formal education in Vedic tradition, where from yoga comes. So walking on path of yoga naturally brought an interest in the source of yoga for him. And then with the knowledge of Sanskrit, as he says, he immersed himself in the study of what he calls wonderful treasure trove of knowledge, including research, both spirit and science of yoga. Now, I'm going to do my due diligence to make sure I cover all his, because he's highly accomplished and I have like a 3-page bio, but I do want to make sure that I cover part of it. So, from student to teacher, Kashiji now delivers diverse set of yoga based programs for the art of living globally, taking him to different parts of the world, from Asia to United States to Europe. He conducts Sahaj Samadhi, a mantra based meditation program, happiness program where you learn the most powerful Sudarshan Kriya technique, and of course Shishi Yoga deep dive retreats or Vedic wisdom course, which are a month-long immersive curriculums. Those are also trained, those are also taught by Kashiji. And until now, he has trained more than 100,000 participants all over the world. Under the guidance of His Holiness Gurudev Shishi Ravi Shankar, Kashiji has taken an incredible responsibility and leadership in growing Shishi Yoga in India and globally. He has empowered yoga teachers in the authentic tradition of yoga, making it accessible and practical so that individuals can bring personally, they can be, thriving, and confidently they can teach others the yoga. You will always, you will experience now in this session, his style of teaching is infused with humor and lightness. So any complex knowledge, he makes it very easy to understand. It reflects his versatility in knowledge of yoga, expertise in training, and ability to connect with variety of audience and cultures. He's a true yogi, a kind, multi-talented, spiritual being and mentor to thousands of seekers globally. Kashiji is a graduate of the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology in Chemical Engineering. He's ERYT 500H with Yoga Alliance and is a member of steering committee for yoga for the Quality Council of India. He is also member of the Academic Council of Sri Sri University, where he is instrumental in designing and upgrading curriculum of graduate and undergraduate programs in yoga. So once again, warm welcome to a true yogi. Namaste Kashiji, greetings from all of us.
Namaste, Pragya ji. It's such a pleasure to be on this channel and to be part of something so wonderful. I think this itself is a blessing.
Very true. That's exactly what I was thinking, that this is such a privilege to be on this channel and to be sharing this knowledge. So, like in many situations in life, many of us, from childhood, we have been brought up, asking for blessings or prayers when we go through something tough, we are going through some challenges. And every time we do that and we know it works. But now, since you come from an engineering background, I always say that IIT chemical engineering is it's one of the toughest course, and you are so scientific in all your approaches. So can you please help us understand the scientific perspective of what is blessing?
The nature of human consciousness has always been the ingrained ability to reach out. There is an innate inner strength, and yet at the same time, there is the willingness to take help. If humanity had not obtained a social outlook, the ability to get together and do things, we would not be living the civilization that we are here today. We would still be hunter gatherers. We would be like the other species on this planet. So, in that sense, there is an innate ability in humanity to help each other, to share our resources. And I think this is the basis of blessing. In fact, in cultures across the world, you will find there is the tendency to, to do two things. One, whatever we can achieve by ourselves, we put our effort and we achieve it. But what feels impossible, that's when a man asks for help. We either ask for help from our peers, from our seniors, from the universe. So, this tendency of the consciousness to reach out is reciprocated by the universe. And this tendency is called the blessing. In the Vedic Shastras, the divinity is described as Panchakritya Parayana. In the Lalita Sahasranama, this name comes. And the name itself means Panchakritya, the five actions. Parayana, the one who is skilled in. So Panchakritya Parayana literally means the one who is skilled in the five different types of actions. And what are these? Shrishti, creation; Sthiti, maintenance; Laya, dissolution; Anugraha, blessing; and Tirobhava, hiding. There is consciousness in this whole universe. In fact, science also says the whole universe is made up of protons, electrons, neutrons. If you go even deeper, it's all just a vibration, a wave function. And spirituality also says this whole world is filled with consciousness, with Brahman. So it's just different words being used to describe the same phenomenon in nature. And that which pervades the entire universe, whether scientifically you call it a wave function or spiritually you call it consciousness, this is what is making everything tick. And when we are able to harness this power, this is what is called blessing. And that's why, from time immemorial, through different cultures, humanity has been harnessing this power. And we have all experienced situations where we have put effort, but we have received much more than what we expected. There have been times when we have put effort and things have not gone to the plan. So, in that sense, life is not just about putting effort and getting results. That is very robotic. But the ability of humanity to harness an innate power, this is the power of blessing. And meditation helps us to harness this because we are able to go deep within and make a difference. Of course, when we look at life, there are so many ways this can happen. When there is service, when we help others out, then the universe looks out for us. When we meditate, then things happen. Through knowledge, things can shift. Through devotion, it can shift. There's so many ways of harnessing this power. And I think that is the beauty, that every culture has been able to harness this power of the universe. And we have given it different names and different ways to experience it. And I think that is the beauty of looking at the power of blessing through the eyes of both science and spirituality.
That is such a wonderful explanation. Kashiji, you just make the life so easy, so simple to understand. Thank you. And that's where, I would like, because you have been involved in so many projects of art of living, which have been huge projects. So I'm sure over these years you have come across a lot of people asking you for blessings, and also a lot of situations, like for example some natural calamities like tsunami, or climate changes, which are disastrous. So can you share some stories of blessings, or maybe series of blessings were given, and what was the impact or transformation we saw?
You know, the process of blessing is something that all of us innately possess and utilize. When someone asks us for help, we say, yeah, of course, I'm ready to help. But the beauty of spirituality is that by doing the blessing course that Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji has uh, created, we are able to connect with this universal power and channel that to make a difference to people. So, for me, that's why the blessing course itself is a blessing. And it gives each one of us the ability to harness this power of the consciousness. Now, for example, if I ask you, can you lift your car? You would say, no, that's not possible. I'm not so strong. But if I tell you just use the jack, you open your boot and you have that instrument, then you'll say, well, that's very easy. When you have the right tool for the job, what seems impossible becomes possible. If I ask you, can you travel from New Jersey to India on foot? Maybe you can swim across the ocean, walk across land. You'd say, yes, it's possible, but it's so difficult you wouldn't imagine doing it. But if you take a flight, then it becomes, of course, there is a little bit of strain, but it's still so much more effortless and so much more doable. And I think this is what the blessing course gives us. Like you said, I've had such an amazing experience with the blessings, not just myself, but through the stories of so many people around me. One of my most touching experiences was I was in Bombay and I was doing the Rudra Pujas during Shravan. And when I was going somewhere, someone asked me, Kashi Bhaiya, my father is on his in the ICU and doctors have given up hope. They are saying that this is it. This is the last couple of days that we can expect. And so this lady who came to me, she was so much in pain. Knowing that someone's going to pass is so much more painful mm, than just that the event happening. And so when she said that, she said, please, can you come and bless and may his journey be peaceful? So I said, of course. And so I went with her to the ICU. And because it was just the last stage, the doctor said, okay, you can go inside. And so I went in and uh, I, I blessed. I just placed my hand on her father's head and it was a wonderful feeling just being able to see that I'm able to be there for someone. And I went back and the next day there was a satsang and this lady came crying. She said, you know what? After you blessed, my father just recovered and the doctors have sent him back home. And for me, this was such a tangible experience. I wouldn't have believed it if anyone else told me this was possible. But when I experienced it in my own life, it just shifted something within me. I realized that each one of us has such amazing mm, ability, and all we need to do is open up to the universe and make that happen. But actually, one of my most touching experiences was not my own seeing. my own experience of blessing, but it was someone experiencing the blessing of being in Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji's presence. Again, it was a Rudra Puja Monday morning, and this was in the early days when I just joined the ashram. So when it would be Rudra Puja, then Monday morning we would all go to Gurudev's kutir, and there would be the Shivalingam and the deities, and we would bring it along, and Gurudev would walk behind. As we were walking towards the meditation hall, the old meditation hall as it's called now, or the Mahalakshmi Mandap as it's called now,
Mhm.
I saw on the way there was this young girl. She
Mhm.
was having a tulsi mala in her hands, and she was just standing there on the path with her parents. She must have been about 5, 6 years old. And uh, as Gurudev was approaching, she came and offered this mala to Gurudev. And Gurudev took that mala from her hand, the garland from her hand. When we came closer, we realized that this child was visually challenged. She was not able to see. And her parents said, in her dream, she saw Gurudev and she just wanted to make this garland. So she collected all the tulsi leaves, cleaned each one with her own hands, and then she tied up the leaves and she made this whole garland for you, Gurudev. So Gurudev was so touched. I could see him just looking with such grace at this little child. And then he continued on his way and went to the puja. We came back, and by the evening, when it was satsang time, I noticed that the same family had come back and they were there in the evening, and the parents were crying uncontrollably. I went close to them and I said, "What happened? Can I help you?" And the lady said, "Can you please let Gurudev know our child got back her sight today?"
Wow.
And, and I realized that this world is full of magic. It might seem completely unscientific, but we have all experienced such amazing transformation happening in and around us. And I realized that we've just lost this ability to harness the power of the universe. And today, Gurudev is bringing back this ability, allowing us to harness something that we have all experienced, the stories that we have all heard. There have been so many stories of saints working such miracles. And this is something that happens across the world. I think this has been something that has been a part of humanity since time immemorial. And today, Gurudev gives us a very structured way to experience it, to harness it, and to be useful to the world today. And I think that is what is is so amazing about the art of living, that we are able to experience the depths of spirituality in such a structured way. And I think this is for me the biggest blessing of all.
My God, these stories are just so empowering. And as you said that, unless we have channel like this, people won't know about this because we know that Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar never talks about, such things or, there's no advertisement of all these things. So thank you so much, Kashiji, for sharing these wonderful, touching stories. Like in one case, the person revived, he got his life back, and the second one, she got the sight back. Wow, just amazing. So I'm going to keep asking you more stories, on the way, because this is like a treasure of, blessing stories you have. But let's go back to, time in 2011. You were spearheading the responsibility of World Cultural Festival in Berlin, in Germany. And I'm sure it must have been a lot of challenges because it was one of the biggest event in the Olympic stadium, and
Right.
you also conducted yoga there with many thousand people. So can you share some challenges and some stories of grace and blessings?
It's always such a pleasure and such an opportunity for personal growth when we're part of something so humongous. I still remember, I think I spent about uh, a month or about a couple of months in Berlin and traveling around Germany, and being part of this amazing team that was putting the event together. I still remember we were a group of, I think, about 10, 12 people who were staying in Berlin. And every day we would go out and um, reach out to so many people. And the one thing that I realized doing that is that the whole world is waiting to hear, to know, to experience the spiritual path. I mean, so many times I have sat, watched a sunset, and wondered, what am I doing? What's the purpose of my life? I was, like you mentioned, I was at IIT. I did my master's in chemical engineering. I was GSEC of my hostel. I played soccer for the college. I did theater. I did a lot of things. And yet, at the same time, there was always this question, what's the purpose of my life? What am I actually doing? Where am I going? And I think all of us have this existential question sometime or the other. And yet, we usually brush it under the carpet and say, oh, no, no, I don't have time for all this. I'll think about it when I retire. But this is a question that really indicates the first step on our spiritual path. And when we were at Berlin, I think when we were organizing, so many of us were together. We would do get together in the evening, share notes, and just sing a few bhajans, express the devotion, really uh, get back through through various ways, get back to the self after having done achieved a lot in the day. For me, I think that was something so special because we were people from cultures across the world. Of course, Europe itself is a melting pot of so many cultures. We had people from the US, from Latin America, from the Far East, and so many of us from India. We were all there together, and it was such a joy to see that in spite of all the cultures, we could all come together and come together for something so special. As Gurudev mentioned on the event, that here was a place where at some point of time there was it was the scene of something very horrific, and yet today it is a scene of something so uplifting. I think for me, those few days in Berlin really epitomized this transformation from, like we say in Sanskrit, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma amritam gamaya. The movement from darkness to light, from the the dead to the living, so to speak. Because I think, in a certain sense, we all go through our life and we do things so mechanically. We go to the same office, meet the same people, do the same work. And I think it's spirituality that breathes life into our life. So when I was walking around in Berlin, reaching out to so many people, we would go to restaurants, we would go to yoga studios, we would go to all kinds of places. And really saw that everywhere people were just waiting. When we went with this wonderful idea, everyone said, oh, thank you so much for coming to us because we're waiting for this. I still remember there was a there was an interview in one of the biggest newspapers in Germany, the Bild, and they had come to interview us. And so, as a yoga teacher, they were interviewing me about yoga. And there was one question they asked me, um, what do you think about yoga and chocolate? Now, this was something so strange. I guess they were just trying to create some bites, look for some controversy, maybe. But then I looked the person in the eye, and I don't know from where this thing came. I said, what's the point of doing yoga if you can't eat chocolate? And the person was so happy. And she said, I think this is what my headline's going to be. That's when I realized that for many of us in life, blessing seems to mean blessing others. But actually, life itself is a blessing. There are so many times when someone asks a question and you're able to answer and say something, and you wonder, oh my God, where did that come from? And I think this is the real blessing that happens in our life, that we are connected to something much more. Our intellect can see only so much. Like if you're driving on the road, you can see for maybe a 500 meters or depending on the road. And if you're using the GPS, then you know about the traffic much, much farther away. In the same way, in life, when we use a guru positioning system, a GPS, then it allows us to go much beyond what our senses can tell us. In fact, if you look at it in one sense, all our senses are very limited. Electromagnetic radiation has so much frequencies, but the visible spectrum is just a minuscule portion of that. So if you look at it, do your eyes show you the world, or do their eyes actually limit your experience of the world? When you look at it carefully, you see that all our senses are actually limiting our experience of the world. And there's much more to the world than what our senses can perceive. Blessing is really being able to tap into that which is unseen. When we tap into that which is seen, we say, "Hey, this is logical." Blessing seems illogical because when we go beyond the limitation of our senses, that is the blessing. And for me, that's why, uh, of course, there are flashy blessing experiences, like I shared before, but some of the biggest blessings are really that which is so subtle, that which is so intangible, that so many times we completely miss out on seeing the blessings in the mundane activities of life. So for me, the ability to answer someone's question, the ability to articulate my thoughts, I think that for me is truly a blessing. And that's what Gurudev really brings to our life. Because to look at something very flashy as a blessing is very nice,
Mm.
but the ability to see the blessing in the small things in life allows us to see the vastness of the blessing that we have really received. Does that make sense, Pragya?
Yes, in fact, I just liked some of these. My takeaways are like one is the GPS you mentioned, like Guru positioning system. Amazing way to explain how we have this subtle energy which can take us beyond our rational, which is limited. Like, our intellect is limited. And, something which allows us to reflect upon, get deeper, get connected to the source, which is what Gurudev has made it easy for us through blessings. But I really like the way how you shared that, like that brings me to the today's world, like full of technology and information overload and, corporate culture, company, jobs, achieving and running behind. Now, when we see this world today, and I know that you are so, good, like you've studied music and art and, the drama, theater so much that I would like you to answer this, that how do we, incorporate these things, music or the theater or art or bhajans into our day-to-day life so that we can bring some balance, we can get from head to heart, because that's when we have all these, I would say, like just awakening, getting contentment, just reflecting how blessed I am. But how to make somebody, just go to that journey from head to heart. So can you explain, because you are a, pro in music and theater, and I think who else I can ask this other than you? So
Well, thank you for the shout out, Pragya. That's really sweet. I feel that music is an essential part of everyone's existence. In fact, I would go as far as to say that everyone is a great singer, especially in their bathrooms. I think when when we realize that there is no one watching, that's when we can let go and really be ourselves. Once upon a time, long, long ago, far, far away, as all good stories begin, it was summer vacation, and we had all gone to my grandparents' house. So, of course, many of my cousins were there. We are all the same age. I was, I think, 5 or 6 maybe. And uh, when you have so many young kids in a house, you have obvious logistics problems like shower, bathroom, bathing, etc. So all of us would be taken to the riverside and we would all play in the water. And then one of our aunts would towel us all and get us to go back home and wear our clothes. Now, 5, 6 years, that's the age when you start feeling shy. So when my aunt toweled me and then said, "Okay, now go home and wear your clothes," I said, "But I feel shy. I can't run without my clothes." So my aunt said, "Don't worry, just close your eyes and run, and no one will see you." And I ran. And I think that's why for many of us, when we close our eyes and sing, when we are sure that no one's watching, then we are able to let go and connect with the music within. And I think the music within is something that all of us can resonate with. So it's not important how well we sing, but the fact is that devotion comes when, like you said, we move from the head to the heart, when we are able to let go of all the walls that we have created around ourselves. As children, there were no walls. We were
Yes.
so natural. But as we grew up, it's like the caterpillar becomes a cocoon for it to become a butterfly. And I think that is really what life is all about. As we grow older, we shield ourselves. But then, if the caterpillar only stays within the cocoon, it never becomes a butterfly.
Mm.
But it's that, uh, in fact, if you know that if you see a cocoon and you open it, then the butterfly's wings never develop because it's not able to push and build its strength. So, in a certain sense, life situations tell us to become the butterfly, so to speak. But if you still stay in the caterpillar, it's no use. And I think that's where devotion helps us to break free from that, to give us the strength to face our situations. So I would say that if you're a person who lives in the head, there's a lot of analytical work pressure, so much that you have to use your head, then devotion helps you to balance it out and and allow the cocoon to open up, so to speak. So I would say how you do it is up to you. You can bring the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. So I can just definitely talk about the value, the utility of bringing devotion in our life. In fact, Gurudev says so beautifully, what you're devoted to is immaterial, but feeling the devotion helps to open up something within. And I think that is what really the world needs today, because the head looks at differences and the heart looks at commonalities, at bridging the gaps. So, so where the head is about analysis, the heart is about synthesis. And I think this is what the world needs today. So I believe that we are in a position, in a place where we have something very precious to offer to the world. And I think through this channel, what we're doing, Pragya, is so amazing because we are able to let people know that there is a dimension to life that is so much beyond the mundane, that it's possible for each one of us to live live up to the fullness of the possibility that life really exhibits, and there is the possibility of the full flowering of human existence, and, and it's up to us to walk this path and make it happen.
Wow, this is amazing. Like, I have no other words, just wow, because you made it, this is so subtle to understand devotion. And your that story of, 5 to 6 years old, that touched my heart. Like, literally, like, when we are singing bhajans in satsang and, eyes closed, and you tend to forget everything and you feel somewhere the deep connection. A lot of times I find myself having tears, from nowhere, and that's so beautifully explained, that let that child within us come out. right? It's always we are trying to be an adult or a, parent mode, and, why not we bring that innocence, the child, the joy within us, which is, wanting to come out. So amazing that, just beautiful way you explained it. Still, there are, see, people, we come across people. Like I was that kind of a person where I always question that, do I have devotion? Am I devoted? Like, especially if you are going through engineering or all other faculties like that, you tend to analyze. So, as a true yogi, you have been doing yoga training and, research for so long. As a true yogi, what is that you would like us to, know the audience, that how can yoga bring transformation in us?
Pragya, I think when you say a true yogi, everyone is a true yogi when we are born. And I think this is what Gurudev says, that all of us are born yogis. Every child does so many asanas, so much more flexible. Every child puts its big toe in its mouth. So I think in a certain sense, we just forget that we are yogis. And I think this is what the world needs today, to remember that we are all yogis to begin with. So it's not that we're learning something new, but we're just re-examining, revisiting something that is really a part of our existence. That's why in the Vedic tradition, the ultimate to achieve is called moksha or freedom.
Mm.
It's not about achieving something or acquiring something, but it's about letting everything that's covering the truth drop off, and you realize that you are that. Soham, I am that. And so, in a certain sense, the journey of yoga is really about letting go of things, not about acquiring some knowledge.
Wow.
In fact, even when I say anything, something inside you says, yeah, I think this is the truth. And so, did knowledge come from what you heard, or what did it really come from within you, blossom within you? And you'll find that when you look closely, the knowledge only blossoms within. And that's why the way to acquire knowledge has always been meditation. You've never heard of some rishi sitting in a library for 10 years and getting enlightened. It's always been someone who has meditated for so many years, whether it's in the Eastern or the Western traditions. It's always been meditation that has led to knowledge. And I think that's why for each one of us, the ability to connect with oneself is the ability to be a yogi. And that's something that's inherent in everyone's nature. So I would really say the way to experience this. Now, mm, when we look at the highest knowledge, it seems very obvious. But then it seems, oh, it's very good to hear all this, but it's not for me. You don't know, I have to run a family, I have a job, I have to do all this. Where's the time to do all this? And that's why what Gurudev has done is so wonderful. He's structured all this knowledge into bite-sized pieces in a few days, in programs running over a few hours, and we're able to effortlessly experience the depths of knowledge using the right tools of practice. And I think that's why all of Art of Living, all of our courses really marry these two aspects, practice and knowledge. Because for knowledge to be experienced in life, we need the practice. We need the right tools. And like I shared earlier, when I want to lift a car, if I have the right tool, then it becomes very effortless. And so, in a structured manner, learning all these tools helps us to live this knowledge. Because all of us inherently feel all of it makes sense, but we feel, oh my God, I don't have the ability to implement this in my life. The tools enable us to implement this wonderful knowledge in our life. That's why I still remember when I was in college, I never imagined one day I would be traveling the world, talking about yoga, and mm, getting smiles on people's faces like I do today. It's been 30 years traveling the world. I still remember I was in, I think it was Japan, and I was addressing a group of yoga teachers in a yoga studio, and every one of them was much more flexible than me. They were all yoga teachers. But for them, yoga was asana. It was just stretches and maybe a little bit of pranayama, breathing. But experiencing yoga, Shri Shri Yoga, and each one of them said, "Oh my God, today I realized that yoga is much more than what I was talking about, what I was teaching people." And I think for me, this was such a beautiful experience of taking someone who already knew something and transforming that knowledge. And I think this is what Gurudev does with all of us. And this is truly a blessing because when I feel I know something, then learning stops. And when we have a guru, then we are able to move from I know, from an ugly I don't know to a beautiful I don't know, which is what Gurudev says is the journey of knowledge. When ugly I don't know is I really don't know, and a beautiful I don't know is oh wow, I don't know. And I think this journey from ignorance to bliss is what really exemplifies what we do here at the Art of Living.
Thank you. That was such a beautiful, explanation of ugly, I don't know, to wow, the wonder. And that's where sometimes it's like Alice in Wonderland. You never know, where it will take you to, the blissful experience. So for those of us, who have taken Art of Living programs, yes, we of course know, what are the techniques, the tools, as you mentioned, very effective way of managing stress. But just to sum up, quickly, because you simplified so good, for the people who have not done any Art of Living course or don't know much about it, how will you sum up what should they do when they are stressed, they have challenging situation? Blessing is a way, of course, people who know blessings, who want to take blessings, who believe, they ask for blessings. But what are the other tools? If you can brief us quickly and then, maybe end it with a musical note. You can sing a song for us and then we can call it a day.
Great. So, I think the building block, the foundation is the program where we teach the Sudarshan Kriya, the happiness program. And this gives us the tools to come into the present moment, to see uh, how we can marry the knowledge with our practice. And what seems to be very idealistic, how can we bring it into our life? But sometimes the past continues to bother us. Maybe 10 years back, someone said something and it keeps impacting on our life today. That's where the advanced course comes in. The silence program, with its hollow and empty meditation, allows us to really be hollow and empty, to be free of all the junk that we've collected from the past. But sometimes it's the future that bothers us. Say, oh my God, what's going to happen? Will I keep my job? Will I get a raise? Will I find my soulmate? So there are so many things about the future that bothers us. And that's where the DSN and the VTP programs help us to face the future and allows us to go beyond the fear that the future generates in us. Sometimes the past is okay, the future is okay, but we're just not able to meditate. And that's where the Sahad Samadhi program with its mantra meditation techniques, just simple vibration, like all of us have vibes. You meet someone and you say, hey, that's a great vibe that you have. So when we are able to recognize our own vibration, then we are able to use that to really harmonize with ourselves. Just like a tuning fork, when you have the right frequency, it's able to harmonize with the string. So, Sahaj Samadhi gives you a vibration that can help you to harmonize with yourself. When you're in harmony, meditation becomes effortless. So, that's what the Sahaj Samadhi gives us. So, when the past is okay, the future is okay, and mm, the present is okay, you're able to meditate, then what are you doing? Help others to meditate. And that's what being a teacher really is. But if you really don't feel that you have the energy or the expertise to teach others, Then blessing is another program that helps you to harness this energy to share one-on-one with someone else the product, the utility, the energy that you each one of us has gained with all these practices. The ability to share that energy comes through the blessing program and the teachers training program. So I think Gurudev has structured all these programs in such a beautiful way that we are able to really holistically develop our personality and really reach the full flowering of human potential.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Kashi Ji. And, thanks is not an enough word, just a lot of gratitude because I know it's night time for you in India. You are teaching a Sanyam course. And tomorrow morning, you have a 5:30 a.m. class. So look at this dedication. This is where, you come when you want to give more. You have achieved everything. You have that energy, the contentment, and you want to spread this joy. And so, again, we are blessed to have you. Now we would love to you singing at least couple of lines, whatever you like, but it'll be nice. And then, yeah.
जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल, 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 जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल 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 बोल, जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल, जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल, हरि बोल 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 हरि बोल, जय जय राधा रमण 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 हरि बोल, हरि 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 बोल, जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल, जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल, जय गुरुदेव।
Oh, this is a symphony of grace. Thank you. Lot of gratitude and thank you so much on behalf of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Pragya ji, जय गुरुदेव।